Then I
Excellent.
divided into different parts. It started with introduction, that why is resume
Hmm.
important, and uh, especially for students, and how we structure and the mistakes to avoid and everything. So
Okay.
why a resume matters, then we are going to cover this part of it. And then key components of a resume. What are the main key components that we have to consider while creating a resume?
Hmm.
So then we're gonna talk about the trends, that what are the
Okay.
current trends regarding the resume for 2024. Then we're gonna talk about the common mistakes in a resume.
Okay.
And then these are the mistakes that we have to avoid. And these are the elements that can make a resume very powerful, strong. So we have to consider that.
Okay.
And then it's overcoming writing challenges, that what
Hmm.
could be the challenges and how can we overcome that. And
Okay.
then real world examples, that how we can incorporate examples, achievements, contribution of our career success. Then the practical tips for students as well. and
Okay.
uh, and I think that was it.
That was it. Okay, perfect. In just because this will be the first time that you're presenting, right?
Yes, that's going to be for the first
With
time.
us. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to request the students that they leave any questions at the end of the session, or do you prefer that they just raise their hand and they're given the right to speak up during the
uh, I
presentation?
I think because when we do it at the end, most of the students forget their questions and they're like, do not really get that. So I'm gonna be okay if somebody would be raising their hands. It's gonna be
Okay.
fine with me.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. We'll do it that way then. Okay. We have already 31 students in line. So if you're ready, I'm gonna
Yes.
let them in, and then I'll give a brief introduction, and then we'll start. Okay. Perfect. Okay, and we're all in. So, greetings and welcome to today's AAU's live session. Today we have Professor Batul Saidi, who will be covering the topic of resume for career success. And before we start, just a few reminders, okay? First of all, try to always maintain yourself active in your student platform, because it's through it that you will be able to access all these classes. As you will see, they are being recorded, and also you'll be able to pretty much access any material that's checked on them. Okay. If throughout the presentation you have any questions, you're free to use the chat to post them, or you can of course raise your hand and you'll have the right word with it. And finally, just remember that a few hours after the session ends, you will be receiving an email where you'll be able to put your digital signature, and that way you'll be able to open up several different activities in your student platform that are going to be related to today's topic, and that way you'll be able to achieve some extra credits throughout your studies. Okay, so Syeda, welcome, and floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for the brief introduction. I really appreciate that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the session. My name is Syeda Batool Z, and I am a certified professional resume writer. And I have over 5 years of experience as a resume writer and in career field. So today I'm going to be covering the topic that how you can create a resume that can lead to career success and help you achieve your career goals. Because in the job market, you all are students and you're gonna be looking forward to the job market in the future. So I think it would be really helpful for you to understand the importance of a professional and ATS compliant resume. So I'm going to be welcoming your questions even during the session, because I believe while I'll be discussing something, there could be something that pops up. So you let me just finish one slide, and even if you would have any question regarding that slide or that particular topic that I'm going to cover, So you can ask that question after that particular topic. So, me being the founder of Resume On Point LLC, and then an employee, then a freelancer, then a resume writer for a lot many companies, including a Top Resume, Randstad, and these are the bigger companies. I have ample of experience that is going to help you in understanding what a professional resume looks like, what mistake you have to avoid, and what could be the key elements that you always consider while creating a professional resume. So I'm going to start with the a purpose of a resume. Of course, that a resume is our kind of like ID, our professional ID, with a lot of details that what we have been doing in our professional career, in our journey, and that can help recruiters know the best candidate as per the role, and then they select that. So the purpose of a resume is really crucial that, if there's one role and 1,000 people are applying for that, so it's not going to be easy for interviewing every single person. So we have to create a very stand-out professional resume so that it would be easier for the recruiters to do the process. So role in student job applications. So when it's a resume that is about a student, for example, you just completed your studies and you want to target in the market, for example, in a marketing role. So you must have had some experience in the role or not, or you have your degree or whatsoever with you. So that is going to help you create a resume for entry level roles. So there are segregations for the roles. It starts with entry level roles that are for usually for students. Then it's a mid career level role where you have experience of like 2 to 3 years. Then it's managerial level when you have experience up to 5 years and you know a lot about your role. And then it's director level where you have director, senior level role where you have more than 10 years of experience, and each resume for each level differs. So you cannot use a resume or a template or a layout that you use for an entry level client and then you use it for senior level resume as well. So there is a difference between each level. Importance of structure. So the structures matter a lot because whenever you upload your resume, you send your email, your CV, whatsoever for a role, there are applicant tracking system that the companies use that allow them to screen the resumes and select the most appropriate ones. How it works. So ATS is a software whenever you're going to apply for a role for, let's say it's a sales manager role. They would have a job description, all the details in the job description that these are their requirements. So when you're going to apply for the role, they would scan your resume and match the job description they have, and then based on the keywords on your CV, based on the keywords in your resume, they're going to generate a score. For example, the company has a criteria that we would entertain the resumes that has 60% score, and if you fail to score 60%, you're automatically going to be rejected. The HR would never see your CV. So we have to make sure that your resume is not just ATS compliant. Uh, it's not just as important as to nail for the recruiter, but also for the ATS. So it's going to work both for machine and human. So we have to consider each element. And for ATS, there are a lot many things that ATS doesn't scan and doesn't generate score. For example, you might have come across a lot of I'm going to share my screen. Let me know, guys, if you can see my Chrome. Uh, I'm going to see the chat session as well, see if somebody's asking any questions. Just a second. Thank you. So let me know if you guys are able to see my Chrome, because I'm going to share some examples of the templates on Canva. Because, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, that we can hear you. We're only seeing the slides at the moment. We're still unable to see your Chrome.
Just a second. Just give me a moment. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
So there is a very common myth when it comes to the CV and resumes that you can create a resume on Canva. So I'm going to share a few examples here. But I would suggest you never to use Canva templates because they are not ATS compliant. They are not ATS friendly. They will not get you selected, if, especially for a company that is using ATS as a template. I don't know, I'm sharing and something is causing issue. So I think I would prefer to stick with this one. And I'm going to share some examples of, just give me a minute. I have a few examples for the templates to make you understand that what kind of templates does work for ATS and what kind of templates make you stand out when it comes to the job, the HR, what they prefer as per the standards. So these are the basic ATS templates that I'm sharing. Just give me a minute. I don't know why my computer got slow. Okay, so this is example number one. And this is a very basic ATS compliant template that you can use. And every role has some different structure templates there. For example, if you are in marketing and you have more than in designing, you are graphic designer or doing something like that. So for that, you must have some a colorful template, but you have to make sure it's not too colorful, it's not too vibrant because it doesn't really stand out. It doesn't really good a professional look. So this is the template that is really ATS compliant. This is very basic black and white template with all the formatting and with all the details in it. So if you're entry level client, you can definitely start with using such templates. So it has every section here. But if you're going to add some tables here in this section, or going to add colors, or going to do some designing, so it's not going to work for ATS because it never works for ATS. ATS doesn't scan bars, boxes, text boxes, things like that. So if the ATS would scan your resume, it cannot incorporate those relevant information that you're adding in it. So coming back to this one was the basic one. Let me show you another one. So that's the example one for the basic template. And that is the example number two for the basic template. You can see that. So it has different templates. I have over 2,000 templates, 3,000 up to a lot of templates based on the companies. So you have to make sure that the resume is very neat, very clean with all the consistency in it. For example, if you have the font size here, whatsoever it is, you have to make sure that every job title has the same font size. Every job title would have the same font style. So every margin, if you have selected the margin here, for example, I'm going to show you that. If you would have any margin, for example, 12 here for that, to make sure the consistency throughout the resume, you have to make sure that the margin here would be 12. There's no change in anything. For example, even if you're adding for example, I'm going to add numbers like 3 million in my resume. I'm adding 3 million as an M, or I'm adding 3 million as a number or digit something. I have to make sure that if I had added M as a million sign, then I'm going to make consistency throughout the resume, adding M or billion or K sign. So when it comes to consistency in a resume, the consistency goes with every single thing. If you're writing like dollar in in a word, then you have to make sure you're adding all the currencies in the word, or if you're adding it as a symbol, or so you have to make sure it's in the symbol as well. So starting for this example, this is the basic one with a very clean formatting, with a very clean layout. Then I have this example for some design templates that are ATS compliant but a bit colorful. So let me show you that. So this is the template where it has a bit of colors, it has some details, so it's a bit of more eye-catchy. It's a bit different than the basic one, the black and white one, but it doesn't have like colors, things are going here and there. So no more very much of the graphics. So we have to make sure that we have a control over what kind of colors, what kind of shapes, and what elements we are adding into the resume. And I would suggest you guys, instead of going on the internet and searching for a template or a resume of your, or there are people just like me on LinkedIn that would be available. You can just simply go there. You can ask for the review. Myself, I also offer free resume review services where you would come to me and say that same, this is my CV. What do you think about that? Then I would ask, okay, what is your targeted role? What experience do you have? Then I'm going to review on the basis of that. So get an expert advice instead of doing things on your own, because I think you might would get into the trouble and job hunting. Trust me, I know it gets really hectic sometimes. So this is the template for example, a one-pager resume. This could be for the entry-level client. And then I have this another example for the colorful template. So this is the template that I would use for a senior level client who has a lot of information to put in. There would be the summary section. I would add the achievements here, then a bit more information about his career, and then the expertise section. So this would be very detailed, but for a person who has more than 20 years of experience, a very strong experience, then I would incorporate this resume for that example. So it really differs that how much years of experience you have, what kind of a template you should use, and what could be the layout. So coming back to the presentation, so the key structure overview, common mistakes to avoid. The most common mistake that is I oftenly see in a resume is the instead of summary, people add objectives. So there's no as such thing that is objective. The summary is a summary of your whole career, whether you have no experience, whether you have more than 30 years of experience. So the summary would summarize all of your experience. And you know the most interesting fact about the summary, when the recruiter sees the resume first, they first instant look on the summary and they spend like 0.7, they spend like 7 seconds, 5 to 7 seconds to review our resume and then select whether they are going to read it or they're going to directly reject it. So your summary has to be really strong and it must cover all the areas that you have, but it shouldn't be really lengthy. It should not be more than 5 lines in a summary. You should start it with something like, I'm going to share my example here. Just give me a second. My example of CV, so you would have any idea that what I'm talking about here. So do not overburden your summary section because it doesn't really look professional. Just a second. So I am in the HR field as well. So I have created my some CV for the HR field. The second most common mistake which I see that people create one CV for all the roles. For example, in the beginning, the student has experience in they have got the degree in management, so they decide that, okay, I'm open to apply for marketing management, administration, customer services, whatsoever. What they do, create one single CV, one single resume, and start applying for different roles. So that is not going to happen, because when it is ATS, they're going to scan your CV, and then when they're going to see, like, there's marketing over there, there's administration over there, there's this over there, this. So it's like a jumble, and recruiter do not really like it, and that is a very big red flag that you can have. That doing one CV for all the different roles, create one CV with a very strong summary with it, and make sure that you incorporate everything accordingly. Starting with the, I'm going to show you that how a CV works from the start to the end. It's my name, and then it's going to be the location. You're not going to add your home address, like house number, this and that. It's simply the city, the state, and the zip code, nothing else. Then create your phone number here, your email ID, and of course your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is as crucial as your CV, because in this social media era, there are recruiters that prefer to go to a platform, review what you have, your professional experience, than just reading the paper. So they like visuals, they like to go on your profile, they would see that how are you indulging on LinkedIn, are you participating, are you active, what activities you are in on the LinkedIn, to judge you whether you're going to be right fit. And that goes with most of the cases. So you always have to make sure you have a very strong LinkedIn profile as well, and you have added the LinkedIn profile. You can simply add it like this, or you can also create a URL while just adding this, and you can just have to add a hyperlink, and the recruiter could easily open the hyperlink, and that can direct directly to your LinkedIn profile. So since I have created my CV based on HR assistant's role, I had made sure that I am adding everything that is relevant to HR, since my CV writing and resume writing experience and HR, they align each other. It's kind of like the uh, both parts of a same story. So I have incorporated some my CV experience here as well, that I have resumes and CVs experience here. So I have incorporated everything that talks about HR, starting with certified professional resume writer. If you're a student or you are doing something in technology, you have field, for example, software development, you got the degree in software, you can start with a tech savvy professional with 2 years of experience in developing softwares as per company's needs or whatsoever it would be. So it really depends. So you can take help of Chat GPT here. You can ask Chat GPT to create a summary section. Although I would suggest you can use AI for your CV, but it's not as effective as it can be created by uh, an expert. But if you really want to give it a try, so then you can just simply add a prompt that create a summary of adding your experience, and create a very brief summary, and target this specific role for the software developer. So you have to add a very professional prompt there. Then there's the most important area, that is your summary. You have to make sure that it is as strong as it could be, and it also covers, there is a difference between the job description and summary. So you have to make sure the summary is strong. You're not adding that working on the daily basis, managing, completing routine tasks, day-to-day operations. So this is something like your JD. You have to make sure that you're incorporating some strong verbiage here. For example, developing highly efficient workforce, things like that. The verbiage should be very strong here, not generic as such, just the JD. Then this is the expertise section. This is the expertise section where you would be covering your most important hard and soft skills, starting from the hard skills. Now, what is the difference between hard skills and soft skills? So hard skills are those skills that are required to create the data required for the role, and you cannot get the job without those specific skills. For example, if you're in marketing, so you would need to have marketing operations management skills. You have to have knowledge of the marketing tools. You have to have expertise in that. So start it with the hard skills that are required for the job and look into the keywords of the targeted role. Look into the, okay, I'm interested in this marketing role. I do prefer that. Go through the job description of that particular, look what they require, and if you have that particular skill, do add it. This is called keyword optimization. That can make you stand out, that can generate you higher score in the ATS. That you would scan, you would highlight that this is their requirement, these are the skills they are needing, and then if you would have those skills, do highlight them in your summary, do highlight them in your expertise, and make sure that those skills are also in your JD, because that will help you generate more ATS score. So starting with ATS optimization, excellent communication, HR standards, compliance, whatsoever is needed. And in the last lines, in the last few expertise, you can add some soft skills. For example, if it's a customer services manager, effective communication is a hard skill because it is required in the customer services field. But if you are somewhere like in finance department or finance manager, then that particular skill would be a soft skill because that is not required to complete your day-to-day routine task, but it would give edge to your specific role. And do create a separate section such as technical skills, because we live in a technical era. The more you would add your technical proficiencies in your CV, the more you would stand out. If you are studying, for example, if I'm doing HR, I was doing leadership in HR. So I would see that what tools are required in that particular role, because to stand out in the market, you have to touch every base you can to make sure that you are going there. So this Microsoft Office suite is the general thing that everybody would know. You can add that. For example, for my role, that I know LinkedIn Recruiter is something that I must know, so I added that, and I know that. So all the tools that I have ever worked on, I have added those skills here. So you have to make sure that it is in accordance with your role, because that would make you stand out as well. Now, if you have experience of like more than 5 years, then the career highlights section would give you an edge. I have more than 5 years of experience. I have worked for more than 4,000 clients. I've created more than 5,000 CVs, resumes, sorry, and I worked with more than 15 companies. So I have enough information uh, to wow the recruiter. Then I would create a section which is a career highlight, to make sure that I am highlighting most strong accomplishments on the top of the CV. So the CV works with the summary section, then the expertise section, and then the professional experience section. For students, you would have, because you won't have any enough of the experience at the moment, that can you can add a career section for that, career highlight section for that. Then I would recommend you to, after expertise section, go directly to the professional experience. But when it's for students and you have no experience, you have completed some projects in the university, you have got some activities going on in the university, and we do not have anything else to put in the experience section, then we would add your um, education section after the expertise section. So it depends on the preferences, it depends on the scenarios, it depends on everything. So it's different for every single person out there. So if you have nothing to show in your CV but your education, your courses, your professional development, then we would highlight your education section on the top before professional experience section or something, if you would want to have any professional experience section. But we still try to incorporate any information we can. So after career, for the general cases, I am telling these information. After the career highlight section, I would have professional experience section. In the very strong strategy, we segregate the resume writers segregate the job description into two parts. One is the paragraph, where we are going to incorporate your routine task that you did in a paragraph, but result oriented. And the second part is your key contribution, the achievements, that you have achieved, whether you got promotion, whether you got selected for, whether you got the title of Employee of the Month, whether you generated profit for the company, whether you improved the performance, whether you selected a team, whatsoever it is, it would go into the different section, which is key contribution. See, there's a difference between a doer and an achiever. A doer is doing whatsoever is being told that, okay, you have done. So recruiters are not really interested in that. Recruiters are interested on those people who have contributed in the company. In a company, like they have gain any advantages for the companies, and the recruiter, when he would see that you have already done a lot in the past for the different employers, they would really get the urge of giving you a try, that they would see that how you incorporate such stuff for them, and how would you be the strong team person, or how you can contribute to the company. So you have to make sure you're adding that. Then we have quantifiable contributions. Always remember that word. Whatever your role is, if you're adding some numbers here, that is going to get you a lot of edge. Numbers, for example, if you're in finance and you say that I have managed 2 million or whatsoever is in the number budget, I improved company performance by 10%, I gained company these 10 clients, I achieved company's goals, I achieved company's KPIs, but something in numbers. The more the numbers you would have in your contribution, the more the recruiter would love it. And me being a resume writer, I know I always ask my clients, give me some numbers, anything that you can think of, anything. This is then going to be my art, that how I'm going to convert it and how I'm going to put them there to make you stand out. Okay, I have no any question. So this is how it works. So you always have to make sure that you're adding, sorry, that you're adding as many as number you can, and that can make you stand out. Then always start with the recent role, whatever you're doing recently. Started professionally, the company, whatever you have. So I have worked on the freelancing platforms. I have worked for the companies. I have worked on Upwork, Fiverr, companies, LinkedIn, whatsoever it is. So I have experience of all over the places. So you can start with the most recent role, and always remember, when you are creating a job description, start it with a verb. Nothing like I am experienced in this, I'm experienced in, no, start it with verb. Adhere to international CV writing standards and the rules whatsoever, most at LinkedIn profiles. And when you are adding accomplishments, make sure that you're using more stronger verbs. For example, provide exceptional counseling consultation services to job seekers and celebrities. So stuff like that. You have to make sure that you're adding stronger stuff in your key accomplishment section. Just give me a second. So this is my second JD, and then you would have your the past role, then the recent one. You would have to add that. You have to make sure that you're incorporating as much as information you can. So this role, this CV is for the HR role. So what I did, I made sure that I'm not talking a lot about CVs. So I do not have enough of the HR experience. So I have to play around something resume writing, something my past roles. So I have experience of HR like a lot years ago, but I have to add it. So I made sure that I'm incorporating everything I have for my managerial role, and always start it with the verb. Make sure you're not, and the second thing, make sure that you're not doing repetition. If you're using a word like manager, don't use it more than 3 times in your CV. Three is like the most cases. Don't use it a lot. Make sure there's no repetition of words. Make sure there's no repetition of the task that you're saying that managed clients in the previous JD. Then you keep on repeating the same information again and again. Try to avoid that. And then you would have your education section. It depends with the education section. If you have some certifications, if you have some professional development experience, you have courses, you have training, you have anything that can stand you out. So you have to create a separate section if you have enough information for that. For example, you have 2 to 3 certifications, you would indulge in like 5 to 6 training, then create a separate section of career professional development section where you would add just the title of the certificate and from which company you got it. No more details. Do not add stories in your education section. Do not add stories in your volunteer section, in your membership section, in your affiliation section. Do not ever add hobbies, interests, things like that, because recruiters do not, this is an old practice and recruiters are really not looking forward to that. So this is the generic uh, things of a resume that I told you that these are the key elements, because this is the part which I would be covering later on. But I thought that I just tell you side by side so you would know that what the main things that we have to consider while creating a strong resume. So common mistakes to avoid. The most common mistake in a resume, it's a fact that the most common mistakes in a resume are the grammatical errors. So you have to make sure that you are avoiding the grammatical error. Avoid using articles in a resume. For example, creating the, and don't use that, because this really doesn't work in the resume. You can just simply avoid using them and try to create a line in a resume, an achievement in a resume. Like, for example, if you say that I I I improved company. There's a line in a CV that just says that improved customer satisfaction. That's it. So, but what you're going to write, this is an art. The resume writing itself is an art, which I always say that you're going to say that improved companies' profit margins and elevated or augmented client satisfaction rate by this person through creating and implementing effective strategies, meeting clients' needs, and ensuring exceptional customer services. So you're going to tell a result that this is the result, the part of a line that this is the result I generated, and then you're going to add by, and then you're going to tell that how did you achieve it. So it could be anything, that attain new clients, improve company performance by this, doing through whatever it is. So you have to make sure that you're adding every information and you have to justify it. You're not going to add any false information in that, okay, let's just create it, okay, because recruiter in the interview could ask you anything from your CV section, like, okay, tell me that you are talking about this, so what is this? So you have to always make sure that you're adding facts in your resume other than the stories, made up stories. So the tips I already told you about the effective resumes. We're going to move forward with the first impression. As I always say, the first impression is the last impression, but in your resume, your just summary section, your layout, the color choice, the layout, the formatting, each and everything is the thing that it gives the first impression. If you have a strong summary, if you have added some numbers, you have achievements there, the layout is pretty, there's no white spaces and there's no wordy impact, then you're going to give recruiter a very good first impression. Then the manager prefer, 88% of hiring managers favor clear and concise resumes. I showed you the example in the beginning of basic ATS compliant resumes. So these are kind of the resumes that looks very nice to eyes and recruiters prefer to go through them. So you have to make sure that they look nice. They're not giving a very wordy impact, and neither they are very blank. So you have to maintain a balance. And then it's professional formatting. As I tell you that already told you, the professional formatting matters a lot. You have to make sure the consistency is there. It's not like you're using a font size like New Times Romans or something like that. So you have to make sure you're using font that are pleasant to eyes, and the size is, it's ample enough, and it's not something to do very often that. And then competitive edge. So of course, for their one role, more than 500 candidates are applying for a single role in this fierce job market. So to get the competitive edge, you have to make sure that the job applications, the ATS, and your all the key elements, important elements are there. You're not missing out on anything. And highlighting skills. course, in the skills, you're going to also incorporate your keywords. So this is very necessary that you're highlighting your skills. You're not missing out on anything. So these are the expertise that required for the role, and then the technical skills. I would say you can also add your languages skill. For example, if you know English and you have a very different native language, could be anything. For me, it's Urdu, and then it's English. So I would add that I'm native in Urdu and I'm fluent in English. So you can also add your fluency level, your understanding level with the languages. So it could help recruiter to know to what extent you know the English and to what extent you can be good at that. And then we have key components of a resume. So the main component, as I already told you, that it's summary, professional summary. It's not that wordy. It is not saying a professional resume writer with resume writing or something. You have to clearly portray that if you have 5 years of experience, clearly mention there that a manager with more than 5 years of experience in creating strong workforce, in retaining fit or perfect fit or retaining good talent for the companies and supporting companies in creating strong and result oriented people or workforce or whatsoever it would be. So it depends on the role. So it could be different for every single role you're applying for. Then the work experience, again, very important. Add achievements, add numbers, add but do not add a lot of information that it is giving a very wordy impact. So I came across a lot of series like that, and I'm always telling people to make sure that you're adding information, but that information must add value. You cannot just tell stories. The information you're putting in your work experience section must add some value there. Then the skills are, as I already mentioned, your expertise, your technical skills, your languages skills, whatsoever it is. Make sure you're incorporating them. Your education section. Okay, for education section, you should start with your bachelor's. You do not have to add your experience starting from the schooling in that. You just always have to start with the bachelor's and master's only. That's enough. You can add your certifications as much as you can. And for the candidates who have like more than I work for the candidates who have experience of like 40 years, but you always have to make sure in that scenario you're always targeting your experience from 10 to recent 10 to 15 years, because recruiters are no longer interested in your experience that is more than 15 years, because it's a long story, it's long gone, and they know that there are new skills, new tools, the new market has been changed, so they prefer your recent experience, not the experience from the background. And
Yes, Sia, sorry to interrupt you. If it would be possible, if you can hide your chat window so we can actually see the full slide without being
sorry,
interrupted, it would be great. Thank you.
sorry. Uh, is it okay now? Is it okay? Does it work?
It's still there. Can you place it as a full screen, perhaps?
Let me see. How can I do that? Is it fine now? I think it must be better now. Start started with the slide.
Yes, it's better now.
Okay,
Mhm.
sorry for that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to talk about current resume trends. First of all, there's a myth that the resume should be for 2 pages. It's not a myth. It's a myth for the experience of the people who have like more than 15 years of experience. For example, if you are some senior level professional, then you can go beyond than two page resumes. But the ideal cases for a resume is two-page resume. If you are entry level client or professional, so you should always have to make sure that it's not more than 1 page, because you won't have a lot to incorporate, or whatever experience or professional background you have, it must cover in a single page. And there I already showed the template that there the experience I covered in just a single page. Then double column format. So it was the trend where there were the double column format, the information going side by side, parallel, mostly on the Canva. You would see that there's the picture, the skills, the information, then there is the summary, there's the professional experience. So that was the trend back that. And the most important trend is ATS friendly design. So these are the excluded ones. You always have to make sure that your resume is ATS compliant. If you're managerial level, then you can go for the 2 pages. But if you have experience like more than 50 years, that's a rare case that you have a lot to put. You have projects, you have clients information, then you can go to beyond 2 pages on 3 pages. But the ideal scenario is 2 pages, but it differs for federal level professional. For federal, we can create on the resume on more than 5 pages, and for the curriculum vitae, for the professors of the universities, you can go beyond 2 pages. So there are exceptional cases in that case, and going over it. So common mistakes: eliminate irrelevant details, do not add interests, hobbies, I like doing this in my spare time. No, proofread at least 3 times when you create your resume. Please proofread it for like 3 times at least, because it's my own experience. I used to create resumes in the beginning, and then I realized that I sometimes skip mistakes in the beginning. Then I created this practice of mine that I at least proofread a resume 3 times, because you can skip some errors. You can skip anything in the first scan, so it could be you can just scan it in the second or third round of the scanning, so it would really help. And use a resume summary. So as I told you, don't add objectives, do not add details, do not add stories, just a summary, a professional, concise summary of whatever you have done regarding your skills. Keep it concise, be mindful about whatever you're adding in it. Make sure you're not adding a lot information in that is not readable to the recruiter, that is not likable to the recruiters. Usage of strong action verbs. So verbs like the most unlikely thing in the resume is using words like responsible for, accountable for, because here you are just telling the recruiter that these were the tasks assigned to you. But when you would say managed it, achieved it, it would generate a sense of doing something in practically or achieving it. And quantify achievements, as I already told, that always add numbers in the resume. It really increases your chances of selection. And use relevant keywords. Do not add in keywords that are not relevant to your targeted role. If you're applying for 3 roles, for example, in administration, then it's different in banking sector. So make sure that you're adding keywords relevant to those different roles and creating different resume instead of using one general resume, because you sometimes it could be a luck that it can work for you, but it's better to create something stronger to make sure that you stand out. And strategic white spaces. The example I showed you in the beginning of the basic ATSW, you would have noticed that there are some strategic white spaces. It's not like something has left bluntly there, so the section is missing. So that could really help your resume to look concise and pretty. Regular updates. So make sure if you have created a resume, you are constantly updating it, because if you are getting a certificate, you just spend 5 minutes and adding it on your resume, making sure your resume is always ready whenever it is needed. And so you don't have to like skip and think and then sit and recall everything. Just keep on updating it with whatsoever you're doing currently. Uh, so this is the introduction to resume basics, workshops on outlining, feedback sessions. So this is something else. Real world examples of a strong professional resume is customization. Uh, Make sure you are creating resume on a template that is easy to customize, easy to edit. It's not the templates like Canva, because trust me, download those templates and start working on them. It's going to be very difficult for you to do it, and it's not going to really help. And quantifiable achievements. Me being a resume writer, and I am also a top resume writing voice on LinkedIn. And for that, you have to contribute into the articles. On every single article I come across on the daily basis, does goes around quantifiable achievements. So this is as crucial as your summary, that you're adding it in numbers. If you do not have numbers in the beginning, the make sure that in your career journey, in the later on, you are focusing that what could be the numbers I can add in my resume. So it could be anything. So make sure that you're going to add numbers in your resume for your managerial roles or for the senior level roles. And then the relevant experience, make sure you're adding relevant experience. Sometimes, for example, for mothers, they do have gap in their career. For there are a lot of my clients that come that I have stopped working for 2 to 3 years, so it says career gap. So it could be for anyone, any reason, but we can add a section in a resume. For example, you have a career gap between two roles, then you would add a section between those two roles saying career gap, and a very specific and concise reasoning for that, that I was busy doing that. But make sure when you're adding career gap, you're also highlighting that you were indulged in doing something that is relevant to the targeted roles. You were doing some training, you were doing some certification, whether it be on LinkedIn, but you were busy doing something. So clarity, make sure it's not confusing that the recruiter would say, I don't get that. So whatever you're doing, your accomplishments, your numbers, your summary, your every section has to be very clear, and it's not difficult to understand. Professional formatting, use eye-catchy font styles and sizes, and make sure you're maintaining the consistency all over, and action verbs. So proofread for errors. If you are oftenly getting that, I'm not getting selected, I don't know what's wrong with my resume, I've done everything with that. So I would also suggest you to proofread if there are any grammatical errors that is getting in the way. Seek feedback, go out to the professional and ask that I have this resume. Can you please give me a feedback how it looks, and then continuously update that. So these are the things that's going to help to get a good score, to get selected in the resume for this particular job. And I'm sorry, but it got late. But if you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'm open to your questions.